Hi guys, Ann here, and today we're going to do a little story time. Normally when I do my story times, I do like a get ready with me as I'm doing it, but certain story times I realize, because you guys know I like to talk, and I cannot do two things at once. Like I get so into my story, I forget to do my makeup. You know what I mean? So like I'm talking for 30 minutes and I'm not even done my eyeshadow, right? So since I already had my makeup on, I filmed a few videos for my main channel, Just Ann. I figured why not just come on and do a story time. I see a lot of you guys ask me because sometimes on my main channel, you don't realize I have this channel. And sometimes on my main channel, I might talk a little bit about my past and how I used to hang out with the gangs and do gang activities and like the drive-bys. I was sentenced to 4 years in jail before. You know, I had armed robbery charges, drug charges. I used to be an addict, you know, so many things. But on the main channel, I don't really get into detail. That's what I do over here. And a lot of you guys say, I see the comments like you like when I tell my story times, like how I used to be and how did I overcome that and stuff like that. So I was thinking last night and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to tell the story, the most scary moments, like the time I literally almost got killed, like shot, and I could have died. I was in my early 20s, and that was the most scariest moment. And that kind of was like the aha moment, like, what are you doing? Right? So if that is something that you're interested and you want to hear what happened, how I got in that predicament, then just keep on watching. Okay, so for those, most of you know, but just in case if you're new to this channel, I'll share a little bit about my past. So at the age of like 17, I moved out of my mother's house. 18 when I got pregnant, 19 when I had my first son. And around that age, because I was in a very abusive relationships, just different things. He cheated on me all the time and I take him back and all this stuff that I started drinking. And I was an alcoholic, I'm not gonna lie. I was the type of person, now I am only 5'3" and 3/4. And I was like 115 pounds, 120 pounds soaking wet, right? And I used to drink beer. I could not drink liquor because if I drank liquor, I used to get nasty. Not in a good way, and I wanted to fight. You know, if I was at a bar, I would sit there and say, what the fuck are you looking at? Do you know what I mean? And, you know, so I was a nasty drunk. So if I drank beer, it was Coors Light, and everybody used to make fun of me and say it was piss beer, right? But that's what I used to drink, and then I used to like, you know, I would laugh and have a good time. However, I can drink a whole 30 pack by myself. I was the type of person when I drank, I would drink until I blacked out, like I fell asleep. I wanted to keep drinking. You know what I mean? I was one of those annoying people like that, right? And then a few years later, I had somebody come over and ask me if I wanted to try something else, something even more type of drug. Okay, something that you smoke. Okay, it could be powder or you could smoke it. I don't want to say because I don't want YouTube to demonetize this. And I smoked it. Now, I never smoked cigarettes. I really wasn't a weed person because weed used to make me like paranoid. So I was never that. So went from one thing to another. And I kind of got hooked on that. Let's just be real. I didn't do that all the time every day, but it was a lot. And when I did it, I am a true addict. I don't know when to stop. Okay? I would spend like $500 in one night. Then I may not do it for like another week, but I was partying and stuff like that. But alcohol was my choice of drug. Like I never did that unless I had a few beers in me and I had a little buzz and I wanted more of a high, right? So of course, you know, I hung with the wrong crowd and stuff. When I was 14, I don't want to say too much, but I didn't want to be home a lot, okay? And I would be out and stuff. And I was always getting in trouble in school. And I was hanging with the wrong crowd because I felt like they cared. Do you know? I don't know what it was. I thought getting in trouble in school and different things made you popular. And I liked the fact people were scared. They weren't scared of me. They were scared of who I hung with, who my friends were. And I liked that. I don't know what it was. A lot of things I did for attention that I see now, right? So having the wrong friends and stuff, you meet the wrong guys, right? And one of the guys was a big time drug dealer, okay? Now, When I met him, this is before I tried any hard drugs, but I still drank, but I didn't try any hard drugs, okay? And I knew he sold drugs and everything. I thought it was cool. Why? Because he always had a bunch of money and he'd spend it on me. And when you're young like that, you just think it's cool. And I don't know what it was. I like the fact that people were scared of him because he was a fighter and people were scared of him. And I don't know what it was. I just like the bad guys. I remember one time, I'll never forget this. Okay, so he used to sell out of like hotel rooms and stuff. And stupid me, I used to be with him. Now, if he really truly cared about me, why would he want me with him? God forbid he ever got caught or whatever, because there were times that he did get caught and I was with him and different things like that, right? But we'll get into that later. But how I really started knowing, he was the type of person, if I remember somebody owed him, I think it was like $100 or something like that, okay? And the guy came over. Now, back then, we were in our very early 20s. I had to be about 22, something like that. And he was like a year older than me, or 2 years older than me. And I remember this guy, he was like in his 40s, okay? And I remember he comes to the hotel room, and he had $100 bill. And he wanted to get some stuff, right? And I remember the guy I was with, we'll call him Danny. I don't know where that name is. That's not his name. I never dated a Danny, but I don't know, the name popped in my head. And Danny was like, yo, what the fuck? You know, you owe me money. How you gonna come here to want more stuff and you owe me money? And the guy was like, well, this ain't my money. I'm getting it for somebody else. So Danny takes that $100 bill, puts it in his pocket, and hit him one time. Split him from here to here. Wide open. The guy knocked out. He had glasses too. He fell. He was knocked out. After a few seconds, you know, we got him up. But he leaves. Danny was like, I'm keeping this money. The dude was like, but it ain't my money. It ain't mine. He was like, I don't give a fuck. You coming here, owe me money. I mean, this is when I realized, like, whoa. You know what I mean? And here I'm cleaning up the blood and different things like that. And I say to Danny, aren't you scared he might tell on you? Because, you know, there's a lot of like narcs and a lot of people that get in trouble. And because you did that to him and pissed him off, he's going to tell on you. But Danny had this big ego and everybody's scared of him. Nobody's going to, you know, say anything. I was so dumb. There were times he used to get his stuff in New York. So and I live in Jersey. So we used to drive to New York. How dumb. In my car, if we ever get pulled over, we used to take a person with us that got high, okay? Because what they do is, so what we would do is go to New York. I'm not going to say where, but we get there, then we catch the subway, you know, and go to a place. But you'd go into like a little restaurants and stuff like that. Like it was all like, you know, and everybody knew what you were doing, right? Because there's just certain spots that, you know, whatever. And so they would give you a little sample and you would give it to whoever you were with, right? And they would try to make sure it was good. Here's the thing though, just because they give you a little sample doesn't mean that the big stuff that you're getting is the good stuff. You just have to trust that it's okay. So you have them try it. Then in the car, they would try the other stuff to make sure it was, you know what I'm saying? Stupid. I mean, there were times he got stuff that wasn't good. The sample was good, but the stuff he got wasn't good, right? But what are you going to do, right? Can't go to the cops and say, this person juked me for however, right? I mean, it's just dumb stuff that I used to do. I mean, you know, and then we come back and he'd get a hotel room. And I mean, it's stupid. There was other times I'm with Danny, and if people owed him money, he was the type of person. I was with him. So he goes to the person's house, knocks on the door. The guy don't answer. All of a sudden, Danny kicks the friggin' door open, splits the whole door open, goes in, and of course, you know, like, I'm like, you need to wear gloves or whatever. So he has his hands like this, so stupid, you know. And because I don't think he went there to break the door in, but then he was, I don't know. And like he's taking TVs, taking things, you know. And then you see me going like this with the doorknob, getting our fingerprints off, making sure there's no fingerprints. How dumb. You know what I'm saying? And I knew. Now I'm getting to the point, but I just want to tell you, like, you know, and I was like, oh, this is cool, you know. I mean, there were people that I look at it now that were so like addicts. I remember this one guy, his parents owned a store, and he would always steal money and bring it to Danny, and the parents would beg and kick the guy out, and because he had a problem. I mean, it was so bad, this one guy would come over with like regular drinking glasses from his house. And, you know, I mean, there were people that would bring tennis bracelets, real diamond tennis bracelets, and Danny would just give it to me, say, here, do you want it? For like, you know, because they didn't have the cash. I mean, TVs. I remember somebody sold a TV, it was like a 50-inch TV. Now, we're going back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Okay, that wasn't common that you just, everybody had a 50-inch TV that you could afford, right? And I remember, you know, Danny, whatever, it gave him how much for it, I don't remember. And it was a girl. And I guess whoever she was living with, I don't know if it was a boyfriend or a husband, came home and she said it was stolen. The cops literally came to the hotel room, and Danny was like, no, she gave it to me. What are you talking about? And I mean, we're so blessed that they never checked to see if there was drugs. I mean, he used to hide it like up in the ceiling, because back then the hotels would have like drop ceilings, you know, or whatever the case may be. But crazy stuff that I've seen, you know. There was another time, now I got in trouble for this, we got in trouble for this, okay? If somebody owed him money or something like that, he was very like forgiving and trust people. I don't know why. You know, in that game you can't trust anybody, especially addicts, right? I mean, I was one, trust me. And I'll never forget this. I had a bad feeling, and Danny says, come, now it was my car, and Danny goes, come on, let's go. We had to go to the next city over. And I'm like, why? And he was like, well, because so-and-so owes me money. And I'm like, well, you don't have nothing on you, do you? He's like, no, I don't have nothing on me. I was like, you sure? Because I don't trust this person. It was a girl. I was like, I don't trust her because, you know, she did you dirty many times, right? I mean, she was a type where she would get it and say, all right, I'll be right back with your money, and then wouldn't come back, right? And then eventually he would get the money, you know, whatever the case is, okay? I just didn't trust her, and I had a bad feeling. So he swore up and down he didn't have nothing on him. So we go to the next town over, right where there's a post office, and then there was like a school, right? She comes over. She goes, oh, do you have that? And I look at him because he was driving. And he was like, yeah. She was like, let me see. So she looks at it, and I knew. And she goes, all right. She gives it back to him. She goes, all right, I'll be right back with your money. Within seconds, here comes all the SWAT teams. Because I seen when we were going by, I seen this one van parked at like a CVS parking lot. And I had a bad feeling. I was like, you don't have nothing on you, do you? He's like, no. I just had that feeling, right? And all of a sudden, here comes I mean, with the guns pointing at you. I'm in the passenger side. He's in the driver's side. I mean, it was crazy. Of course, he had stuff on him. Now, thank God he was a man, and he was like, it's mine. Because since it was my car, if he would have threw it down and he didn't take the blame, it's automatically going to go to me because it's my car. But thank God he said, no, it's mine. Okay, but I still got charged, of course. And then finally, when I went to court, you know, charges got downgraded, different things like that, what have you. And then, of course, in the discovery packet, that's where it tells you everything. She, of course, was working with the cops and all that kind of stuff, right? But I still didn't leave him. Still. I'm like, you know, just, I should have then, because he lied to me about having things on him. He didn't care. Okay, but I thought, oh, he took the blame for me. He loves me. Sorry if I keep doing this. I'm not, you guys know that I always have my hair back, and I hate anything on my face. So it's like, I keep doing that. So I do apologize. So this was the final straw. Okay. If we weren't in a hotel room, sometimes we would sit at people's houses, and how that would work is every sale that Danny would get, he would give the guy, because the guy was an addict too, like a little piece, right? So it was a win-win situation. He's letting Danny and me stay there to make a lot of money, and he's getting pieces for free for every sale. Win-win. We were at this person's house, and we did this a lot at this one person's house, but there was another girl, and she was like, why don't you come over here? You know, maybe you can get a lot of sales. Now, Danny was very money hungry. And so if you told him anything where he can make money, he was going to go. He just had such a big ego and thought everybody was scared of him, and he was the man. And then the people that he knew nobody would do anything to him. And I was different, right? I didn't trust a lot, right? So guess what? We go there because, oh, we can make money. And he promises me, like, we make this much, I'll give you this, whatever the case may be. And I'm like, okay, like always. So we were there for about 2 hours, and he had a lot of sales coming. All of a sudden, this 2 guys come in. One guy was very, like, he goes up to Danny and was like, who you? And Danny was like, I'm Danny. And then he looks at me. And he goes, yo, what the fuck? What are you doing here on my turf? Blah, blah. And they're like, arguing a little bit. The girl goes, play stupid. I don't know why he's here, because he goes on her and he's getting ready to hit the girl. And she goes, well, I don't know why he's here. Played it off, right? And I knew, I had this bad feeling. The guy gets on the phone, because back then, I mean, you didn't really have cell phones and stuff. Only people with a lot of money, different, it's different nowadays, right? So he gets on the house phone and you hear him say, yo, come here and bring this shit. Well, of course, when somebody says that, talking about a gun. And I looked at Danny, I said, let's get the fuck up out of here. Because I knew he was going, whatever was going to come, they were going to bring that gun and they were probably going to shoot us because, or at least shoot Danny, because he felt, yo, you're coming to my spot. This is my spot. It's kind of like on the street, on the block. Like, even with prostitutes and pimps, that's their block. No pimp better go on that area, or even the drug dealers. Like, that's their spot. Don't come on there and with their, do you know what I mean? It's the same thing. Like, that's what people did. I don't know what people do now, but back then, that's what they did. And I knew it. And after that, I was like, you know what? I need to get the fuck away from him, because now it got to the point we could have been killed. My mother didn't know anything what I was doing. She didn't know where I was at. I would have been killed. They could have put our bodies anywhere and never been found. Do you know what I'm saying? At the time, I had a child. I had a son. Now, that wasn't my son's father that I was with that did all this. But, I was like, I have to leave that alone, because it's getting too much. For what? Because it wasn't like he was really giving me, you know what he was doing? Buying me stuff to eat. Like if somebody came and they gave him jewelry, yeah, he would give me the jewelry. But it wasn't like he was spending money on me. And really, now I look at it, it was blood money, right? I mean, crazy. Now, after I left him alone, it's so weird how the world works, because I seen it from one spot, and then later on, not too much later on, I started to do drugs, right? And then I understood, because at that time I was very judgmental. Oh my God, my head was like this, right? And I would down people. If I wouldn't let somebody in my car, I was like, I'm not putting that crackhead in my car. I became one, right? Like, I judged people, and I was like, why don't they just stop? Or if they were pregnant, I judged them. But you see how God works? God was like, okay, you want to judge people? I'm going to show you, right? And I became that person. Now, I was never that bad where I had to sleep with people to get it, nothing like that. But thank God. You would think I would know better, right? But, this is how the world works, how life works, right? Now, I'm not sharing these stories to brag. There's a lot more stories I can share, like so many more that I can share, But I wanted to share this, that, when you see that lifestyle, when you see that, it's not all, I could have been killed for what? A couple $100? What, maybe $1,000? I think he made? For $1,000, we could have lost our lives. I could have went to jail for a long ass time if we ever got caught. Somebody decides to tell on us and we're at the hotel room for what? A couple $100 that I wasn't getting. What was he spending? $20 on food for me, right? I just thought it would be like, a nice story to share, like the time I could have been killed. Like, I could have over something so stupid. And it took that for me to leave that guy alone. How crazy is that? It took that. Not the fact that he lied to me and said, I don't have nothing on me. And I could have went to jail for, you know what I mean? And I didn't, thank God. You know what I'm saying? So much that I'm just shocked at myself. Sometimes I look at my younger self like, what the hell were you thinking, Anne? What were you thinking? Even times when I was drinking and hanging with my friends, I was never in a gang, but all my friends were. And so I was like guilty by association, that people were scared. They knew not to mess with me because I could just make a phone call and I could have so-and-so go shoot up your house. I could have so-and-so go, do you know what I mean? And I thought that was cool back then. It's not cool. It's not cool. But I did. I look at that like I'm so different than how I was, than how I am now. I don't even realize that was me. I look at that stuff like God has blessed me so much because the things that I've done, nobody's ever died in my presence, you know, but the things that I've done, I don't know. You know, I'm very lucky because it could have been worse. I'm not ashamed of my past. I regret my past. I wish I didn't go that level. It's nothing to be proud of. But I'm not ashamed because it made me the person I am today, right? When I was living in the projects, before I met my husband, I had 3 kids, raising my kids in the projects. There were people that were out there selling drugs 10, 12 years old because they had to. Their parents didn't have money or that's all they knew. Their uncles did it, you know, whatever the case may be. Or for them to get school clothes so they didn't get made fun of. And I used to take them in and cook for them and buy them things. And because I didn't look at them like, what are they doing? I looked at them like, that's what they had to do, was fast money. I was looking at these, like some people look at these drug dealers like, go get a job. But it's hard, especially when you're black. The area that you live in, there's no jobs. And sometimes it's easier 15 minutes, make a couple $100s, then work 8 hours and make the same amount, right? It's a mind thing. And sometimes they don't have any positive role models. They need these girls that are in the gangs or sleeping with a lot of men. They just want to know that they're loved and that they are somebody, right? And so that's what I would do. I learned with my past not to judge. That's the point I'm trying to make. Not to judge why people are doing things, because a lot of times we sit there and we judge without doing anything about it. Why sit there and talk about it instead of helping, right? Some people, they talk about, oh my God, there's so many homeless people outside, but you're not doing anything about it, right? I'm not saying give them money, but make a big pot of rice. Rice doesn't cost that much. Get a little thing of soy sauce so they can put on the rice or a thing. I mean, when you're hungry, you don't care what you eat. Do you know what I'm saying? Make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and bread. You know, there's just so much that you can do. Work at like a volunteer at a soup kitchen and feed the homeless. That's free. There's so much that we can do instead of just talking, you know, or judging. I always get nervous because sharing these stories, because, you know, I always feel like I'm going to be like that's how I was. And then I never write anything down, nothing scripted, like when I say script, like written it down so that I could say in each order. I tell these stories by memory, and then sometimes like when I talk it doesn't make sense because I digress and I think about one thing and then I'm talking about it and then I remember something else, or I'm so excited for the story that I go way past and forget this part. You know, I don't know, but that's just me. That's me. I talk from my memory and I get very passionate when I talk, you know? I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to get off here because here I go jibber jabbing. Please like this video or dislike it. The more likes I get, then I know you like these story times because like I said, there's a lot that I can share. This one might be all over the place because I never got this personal. So I don't know how you guys are going to react. If you like these, let me know. And then the next video, I won't be so nervous. Do you know what I'm saying? So all right, that's everything. Don't forget, I do have a main channel, Just Dance. So if you're into beauty boxes, I'll leave it down below. We have this channel. If you like this type of stuff, please consider subscribing. And I have a podcast with my good friend Abby from Abadabs. And we did episode 8. So it's a fairly new podcast, but we're having fun. We're just 2 Jersey girls that talk a lot of crap, you know? So if you like that type of stuff, like I said, I'll leave everything in the description box. And yeah, I'm going to go cook dinner now. All right, guys, stay beautiful, stay blessed, stay healthy, and most importantly, always stay you, no matter what, and I will see you in my next video. Bye. Oh my God, I am so nervous. My mouth is so dry. Maybe I need to write stuff down because like I'm all over the place, you know? I don't know if I'm telling these stories. I don't know. Okay, stop thinking so much, Anne. Just stop thinking. Just stop thinking.